What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the beatmajors.net. And today this is geared more towards how to widen your mixes, or as far as your beats go. How do you widen your mix? Basically, or what is widening your mix? I guess that would be the better question. What is widening your mix? So you're basically enhancing, you're stereo enhancing, you're making things that don't belong in the middle of the mix to make them stand out, so that they allow whatever sounds need the lower frequencies up into the mid area, close to the mid, so like low to low mid area. Those are basically, your sounds that usually stay in the middle, and then you have your your mid high to highs. Those usually tend to be enhanced a little bit more, and that just depends on what type of sounds we're talking about. That's not always, but that's just something I look at, and I use that to reference when I'm mixing. So how do you figure out what actually needs to be widened or enhanced in your mix? I know that I've talked about this in my mastering video. If you haven't watched the mastering, I have a how to master your beats, basically a series. And there is one step that I talk about, finding and making sure that certain instruments are wide. So the sounds here that we have a piano, and we have that's pretty much it, piano and strings, and those kind of just needed to really be in the middle of not in the middle, but widen, so that the drums and the bass and other things can have their own space in the mix. So I'm going to play this sound so that you can kind of hear it and kind of gauge what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to toggle on and off with the effects. All right, so hopefully you kind of got to hear a little bit of what I was talking about with that. So basically with this sound, as you can hear, obviously it's pianos and it's strings. So usually those instruments in mixes are a little wide. You can't really tell, not all the time. It doesn't need to be that way all the time, but they do have some type of enhancement when you hear them in specific songs or in certain songs. So how do we achieve that? Well, basically we did our mixing on it. We put our effects, like our EQ. We put a little, this is called the Noveltech character. It basically just gives it just gives it a little, exactly what it is, character. We put a little compression on it just to keep everything together. And then we put stereo enhancer on it. Now the stereo enhancer, we didn't do too much on it, but you can enhance it to where it's called stereo separation in here, and you're basically the right side is your mono, which basically should be self-explanatory, which is the negative, and then the positive is basically you're opening the mix up. So that's usually what happens with that. And then we set the phase offset to the left side, so it's kind of geared more towards the left side than it is the right side, but that's not something that the normal ear is actually able to hear all the time. You just know that you've heard it before, though, once I actually show you what I mean. So, and then we put some reverb and we put some delay on there. So I'm going to kind of show you without the enhancer what's happening here. So you can kind of tell that the piano is a little bit more in the middle than it was before. So now when I turn it on, listen to what happens. It made the stereo, or the piano, a little bit wider, and then the strings, they're already panned, so they won't really enhance as much because they're already going to one side. But as you can hear, the piano is a little bit wider than it was before. So that's kind of how you achieve that when it comes to certain sounds. So you could use the enhancer on certain instruments. You might have a lead, or you might have piano, you might have strings, you might have what else do we use it on? Any type of orchestral sounds. That's how you would achieve that. Again, you just you have to gauge what really needs that. Sometimes you might have a bus with, your reverb, but your reverb sometimes sits in the middle if you don't know. So sometimes you can throw an enhancer on there just to kind of space that reverb out if your reverb doesn't have enhancement on it. So you could have a bus and have certain sounds going to that bus and then have a enhancement on it. But that's going on a tangent. I won't get too far into it, but I'm trying to stay on subject here. But yeah, so you basically, that's basically what we did for that. And then overall, what we did was we put what's called the BX control, and this is by Plugin Alliance. This is like one of my best like plugins that I cannot live without. This helps make the overall mix wider than what it already is. So we already put, the enhancement on the strings, but when I play it with this on there, it's so much wider. Now you can hear the reverb and the actual effects in the background. They're a little bit wider and spaced out, giving other things in your mix room to have a place. If I play it without, so as you see it, while I was toggling on and off, you can kind of hear what's going on in the mix when I toggle on and off and what happens. It's not a big drastic change. It's very subtle. So it's something that you won't really hear just your first time doing it. But as you do it and continuously keep doing it and know what you're looking for, you will get it. But this is basically how we widen our mix. Now there are other plugins out there. I know there's Isotope. They have a stereo imaging plugin, and those things work. So it's just about which one you have. Now to kind of get back into this Plugin Alliance thing here, it has a widener and then it has a mono maker. Now, as I was saying earlier, certain areas of your mix you want to keep in the middle as a mono. So like your bass, your kick, things like that, which are your lower tone sounds. That's why we stayed here in 30 hertz. You can turn it off, or you can go all the way up to the top of the EQ. You treat this mono maker like an EQ. So as you're turning it up, you're putting those frequencies in mono. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this knob up and down so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. So it's just something that you really just have to play with and really, listen and see, because I know we're going to get a lot of questions is like, well, how do you know how much should I widen my mix? Well, it really just depends on the track, because not every track is going to have the same width on it. So just, try it out, try different things, listen. Now that you know what you're listening for, like I said, just continue trying. And you'll start getting it. You'll start figuring it out and start feeling more. And that's pretty much it on that. I think what I'll do is I'll make a video and go more in depth with this plugin, but this is just the basics of how we use this specific plugin here. I hope you guys got some value out of this. If you have any questions or if you have any problems that you're having, just leave those in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Also, producers, if you are looking for new sounds, we have a loop sample pack coming out. If you just click the link in the description, we'll send you 5 free loops from that pack, so that you can know, like, okay, this is cool. This is quality right here. So definitely click that link in the description, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Until next time, peace.